Lieutenant Alex Rivera stared out the viewport at the vast emptiness of space. Stars glittered like diamonds against the black void as the transport ship approached the massive Confederation vessel. The tactical nexus loomed ahead, a sprawling space station shaped like a 12-pointed star. Its central hub glowed with blue-white light, making it look like an artificial sun surrounded by metallic rays. Alex took a deep breath, trying to calm his nerves. The year was 2157, and humanity had only joined the Galactic Confederation 5 years ago. The coalition of 17 advanced alien species had been hesitant to include Earth, considering humans to be primitive newcomers barely worth their attention. 10 minutes to docking, announced the transport's AI in a smooth, feminine voice. All passengers, please secure your belongings. Alex checked his uniform one last time. The dark blue Earth Defense Force dress uniform felt tight around his neck, but he resisted the urge to loosen the collar. First impressions mattered, especially when representing your entire species. He still couldn't believe he had been chosen. The annual War Game simulations were prestigious events where Confederation species demonstrated their strategic value. Previous human representatives had been combat veterans or tactical officers with decades of battlefield experience. Alex was just a military psychologist who specialized in decision-making under pressure. When the invitation had arrived 3 weeks ago, his commanding officer had been as surprised as he was. "They specifically requested you, Rivera," General Hansen had said, sliding the datapad across her desk. "Not sure why they want a head shrink instead of a tactician, but orders are orders." Alex picked up his small duffel bag as the transport shuddered, connecting to the docking bay of the tactical nexus. The doors slid open with a soft hiss, revealing a brightly lit corridor. 2 aliens waited to greet him, a tall, reptilian Vendari with copper scales and vertical pupils, and a blue-skinned Alturian with large, almond-shaped eyes. "Lieutenant Alex Rivera of Earth," the Vendari said in a deep, rumbling voice. "I am Commander Zorlak, coordinator of this year's simulations. This is Analyst Kira of Altoria." Alex straightened his back and offered a Confederation salute, right fist pressed to left shoulder. "Thank you for the invitation, Commander. It's an honor to represent Earth." Commander Zorlak's scaled face remained expressionless. "The honor is earned through performance, Lieutenant. Something your species has yet to demonstrate." Alex kept his face neutral despite the insult. The Vendari were known for their bluntness. "Come," Zorlak continued. "The other representatives have already arrived. Kira will show you to your quarters before the welcome briefing." The commander turned and strode away, copper scales catching the light as he moved. Kira stepped forward, her blue lips curving into what Alex hoped was a smile. "Do not mind Commander Zorlak." The Vendari expressed respect through challenge, not courtesy. "Thanks for the cultural tip," Alex said, relaxing slightly. "I'm still learning all the species protocols." "This is only your world's 3rd year participating, yes?" Kira asked as she led him down the corridor. "Yes, and we haven't made much of an impression so far. Our previous representatives were more traditional military types." Kira's large eyes blinked slowly. "Yet this year they sent a psychological specialist. Interesting choice." Alex shrugged. "Not my choice. I'm as surprised as anyone." "Perhaps not everyone," Kira said cryptically. "Commander Zorlak specifically requested a human with different thinking patterns this year." They stopped at a doorway that slid open to reveal modest but comfortable living quarters. "The welcome briefing begins in 1 hour," Kira said. "I will return to escort you." Alex spent the next 45 minutes reviewing the simulation protocols. On his datapad, the war games used advanced neural links to place participants in virtual battlefields. Unlike actual combat, no one got hurt, but the neural feedback made every experience feel completely real. When Kira returned, she escorted him to a large circular chamber where representatives from all 17 species gathered. Alex tried not to stare at the variety of life forms. Some were roughly humanoid, while others seemed to defy biology as he understood it. A cloud of glowing particles hovered near the ceiling, the representative from Nebulon, a species of collective energy. beings. The representatives stood in small groups, conversing quietly. No one approached Alex as he entered. A few glanced his way, their expressions ranging from indifference to thinly disguised disdain. "The isolation is deliberate," Kira whispered. "A test to see how you respond to exclusion," Alex nodded. "Psychological. Warfare starts before the simulation." "You understand," Kira said, sounding pleased. "Perhaps that is why you were chosen." Commander Zorlik entered the chamber, and all conversation ceased. He stood on a raised platform in the center, his copper scales gleaming under the lights. "Representatives of the Confederation," he began, "welcome to the 327th Tactical Simulation Games. For 3 centuries, we have gathered to test our strategies, strengthen our cooperation, and identify weaknesses in our collective defense." Zorlak's gaze swept the room, pausing briefly on Alex. "This year's simulation involves asymmetrical warfare scenarios, where technologically inferior forces face overwhelming opposition. We will test your ability to prevail against superior numbers and capabilities, or to efficiently crush weaker opponents." Alex felt a spark of interest. Humans had extensive historical experience with asymmetrical warfare, both as underdogs and as dominant forces. Perhaps this explained his selection. "You will be divided into rotating teams," Zorlik continued. "Points are awarded for victories, strategic innovation, and efficiency. The species with the highest score at the conclusion will earn the honor of designing next year's scenarios." After the briefing, the representatives began to mingle. Alex found himself approached by a massive, furry being with 6 arms and a face full of eyes. "So you are the human," it rumbled in heavily accented standard. "I am General Korzek of the Ursan Dominion. We have studied your species' primitive conflicts, very energetic but lacking in sophistication." "We're still learning," Alex replied. "Diplomatically, indeed. Your kind relies too heavily on emotion rather than calculation. In warfare, mathematics and logic are supreme." Alex smiled slightly. "Sometimes emotion leads to unexpected outcomes." "Unexpected, yes. Optimal, no." General Korzak made a dismissive gesture with 2 of his arms. "But perhaps you will surprise us. The commander seems to think humans have some untapped potential." As the general moved away, Kira appeared at Alex's side. "You handled that well," she said. "The Ursans respect directness." "I'm starting to see why they wanted a psychologist," Alex mused. "These games aren't just about tactics, are they? They're about understanding how different species think and make decisions." Kira's blue lips curved upward. "Now you begin to understand the true nature of the simulation. Perhaps humans do have something valuable to contribute after all." Alex watched the various alien representatives, each confident in their species' superiority. None of them seemed to consider that humanity's perceived weakness, emotional, unpredictable thinking, might actually be its greatest strength. The first round of simulations would begin tomorrow. Alex would be watching and learning, not just about battlefield tactics, but about how each species approached problems and made decisions. In a contest among beings who valued logic above all, perhaps a little human irrationality was exactly what was needed. Alex sat in the observation chamber, watching the first round of simulations play out on the large holographic display. The neural interfaces allowed participants to control virtual armies while the rest of the representatives could observe every move. Today he was just a spectator, learning how each species approached warfare. The Draken were currently battling the Moravians in a desert landscape. The reptilian Draken relied on overwhelming force, sending wave after wave of heavily armored units across the sand. The insectoid Moravians countered with sophisticated technology, their smaller forces using energy shields and precision weapons to hold back the tide. Fascinating, isn't it? Kira slipped into the seat beside him. "Each species fights according to their evolutionary history." Alex nodded. "The Draken used brute force because they evolved as apex predators. The Moravians used technology because they evolved as hive builders." "Very observant," Kira said, her blue skin glowing slightly under the room's soft lighting. "Most new participants?" Focus only on the tactics, not the thinking behind them. That's the psychologist in me, Alex replied, taking notes on his datapad. I'm more interested in why they make decisions than what decisions they make. The simulation continued for another hour. The Draken eventually overwhelmed the Moravian defenses through sheer numbers, but at a cost that would have been devastating in real combat. An inefficient victory, Commander Zorluk commented from nearby. The Draken received points for the win, but lose points for resource management, Alex made another note. The scoring system rewarded not just victory, but how that victory was achieved. That was important information. Over the next several hours, Alex watched as other species took their turns. The crystalline Quillari moved with perfect coordination, their units supporting each other with mathematical precision. The gaseous Vul used unpredictable attack patterns, shifting their forces like smoke. Each species had refined their approaches over centuries of competition. When do humans enter the simulation? Alex asked Commander Zorluk during a break. Your first command will be tomorrow, the copper-scaled alien replied. Today is for observation and learning. And for us to assess your reactions, added a tall, silver-skinned alien that Alex recognized as Admiral Nix of the Silurians. Your species is still an unknown quantity, Alex smiled politely. We humans are full of surprises. Admiral Nix made a sound that might have been laughter. Surprises rarely win wars, Lieutenant. Careful planning and superior resources determine victory. Sometimes, Alex agreed, choosing his words carefully. But history has shown that unexpected strategies can overcome superior forces. Your Earth history, perhaps, Admiral Nix said dismissively. The Confederation has millennia of warfare experience that suggests otherwise, Alex didn't argue. Better to be underestimated for now. That evening, he met with Kira in the station's communal dining area. The food dispensers produced nutrient-compatible meals for each species. Alex was relieved to find that his options included recognizable human dishes. What did you learn today? Kira asked as they sat with their trays. That most Confederation species view warfare as a math problem, Alex replied. They calculate odds, position forces according to formulas, and execute pre-planned strategies? Kira tilted her head. Is that not the correct approach? It's one approach, Alex said. But it assumes your opponent will behave rationally according to your definition of rational. And humans define rationality differently? Alex took a bite of his synthesized pasta dish before answering. We understand that emotions affect decisions. Fear, pride, desperation. These can lead to actions that pure logic wouldn't predict. Emotions are inefficient, said a new voice. A Quillari representative had approached their table, its crystalline body refracting light in rainbow patterns. They cloud judgment. Sometimes clouded judgment is exactly what you need, Alex replied. If your opponent can perfectly predict your moves because you always make the logical choice, you become vulnerable to traps. The Quillari's crystal facets shifted in what might have been confusion. Intentional irrationality as strategy? This is difficult to process, yet sometimes effective, Commander Zorluk said, joining their conversation. The human speaks of psychological warfare, a concept most species abandoned centuries ago as primitive. Alex noticed several other representatives had gathered too. Listen, he was suddenly aware he was providing insights that might be used against him later. Still, this was an opportunity to shape their perception of human thinking. Sometimes the optimal move is to appear weak, Alex suggested. To bait your opponent into overconfidence. General Korzak of the Ursans laughed, a deep rumbling sound. A strategy for the desperate, not the superior. The weak do what they must, Admiral Nix agreed. The strong do what they want, Alex shrugged. Even the strong can be outsmarted. This earned him dismissive looks from several representatives. But he noticed Commander Zorluk watching him with what seemed like interest. Later that night, alone in his quarters, Alex reviewed everything he had observed. He created detailed profiles of each species' decision-making patterns, noting their assumptions about rational behavior. Most importantly, he identified their blind spots, the types of strategies they dismissed as primitive or ineffective. The Next morning, Alex reported to the simulation chamber for his first command. He was assigned to lead forces defending a mountain pass against a much larger attacking army led by General Korzak. The Urson had looked smug when the assignments were announced. "Human," General Korzak rumbled as they prepared to enter the neural interfaces, "do not feel discouraged when you lose. It is inevitable given the force disparity," Alex smiled. "We'll see." They lay in the neural interface pods, and Alex felt a tingling sensation as the system connected with his mind. Suddenly, he was standing on a mountain ridge overlooking a narrow pass. He could see his forces, a small army with limited technology. Compared to the massive force gathering in the valley below, the simulation had begun. Most representatives would now be implementing carefully calculated defensive positions, but Alex had other ideas. If the aliens expected rational behavior, he would give them something else entirely. He gave his first order: "Abandon the high ground, move all forces to the valley floor." His virtual officers looked shocked, but obeyed. Alex smiled as he imagined General Korzak's confusion. The game of perception had begun. General Korzak stared at the holographic battlefield in confusion. The human forces had abandoned their defensible position on the high ground and moved to the valley floor. It made no tactical sense. In the observation room, the alien representatives, watching the simulation, murmured among themselves. "The human does not understand basic tactics," a Moravian officer chittered. "Perhaps their neural interface is malfunctioning," suggested Admiral Nix. Inside the simulation, Alex positioned his troops in what appeared to be a random pattern. Some units stood in the open, completely exposed. Others hid behind small rocks that offered minimal protection. His heavy weapons were placed far from each other with no supporting units. General Korzak's massive Urson forces approached cautiously. The six-armed commander expected a trap. No one would make such obvious mistakes unless they were trying to lure him into something. After careful scanning revealed no hidden forces or explosive traps, Korzak ordered a full advance. His units moved forward in perfect formation, weapons ready. The human forces began to retreat in disarray, some units moving too slowly, others abandoning equipment. "This is embarrassing," Admiral Nix commented as he watched the display. "Humans clearly have no place in these simulations." Commander Zorlak remained silent, his copper-scaled face unreadable. Beside him, Kira watched intently, her large eyes narrowed in concentration. Inside the simulation, Alex continued to give orders that seemed to make the situation worse. He split his forces into small groups that could easily be picked off. He positioned artillery where it couldn't support ground troops. He left supplies unguarded. General Korzak's confidence grew with each passing minute. The human was incompetent. The Urson forces pressed forward aggressively, abandoning their careful approach for a faster advance. Then Alex launched his first real attack. A small unit that had appeared to be retreating suddenly turned and charged a weak point in Korzak's extended line. They broke through before the Urson could respond. Cutting off a supply convoy, Korzak growled in annoyance and sent a large force to eliminate the human unit. The humans retreated again, leading the Urson forces deeper into the valley, away from their main army. "Observe," Kira said quietly to Commander Zorlak. "The human is using the Urson's own perception against them." Zorlak nodded. "The appearance of incompetence has made General Korzak overconfident, a primitive but effective tactic." Inside the simulation, Alex continued his seemingly random retreat. His forces looked disorganized, but they were actually drawing the Urson army into the narrowest part of the valley. General Korzak, convinced of an easy victory, committed more forces to the pursuit. Then Alex sprung his trap. Units that had appeared to be fleeing in panic suddenly took coordinated positions. The scattered artillery pieces were perfectly placed to cover the valley with overlapping fields of fire. The abandoned equipment turned out to be disguised explosives. The Urson forces found themselves caught in a crossfire. What had looked like human incompetence was actually a carefully planned ambush. General Korzak's army, which had abandoned proper formation in their eager pursuit, now suffered heavy losses. "Fascinating," murmured a Quillari representative. crystal body glittering with interest. The human used psychological manipulation rather than conventional tactics. A lucky maneuver, Admiral Nix insisted. It will not save them against superior numbers, but Alex wasn't finished. As General Korzak reorganized his forces for a massive counterattack, the human did something even more unexpected. Instead of defending his newly advantageous position, Alex ordered a full retreat again. "What is he doing now?" asked a Draken observer. "He finally gained an advantage and now throws it away." The alien representatives watched in confusion as the human forces abandoned their positions and fled deeper into the mountain range, leaving behind more equipment and supplies. General Korzak, now wary of traps, ordered a careful advance. His forces moved slowly, checking each abandoned human position for explosives or ambush. This caution cost valuable time, allowing the human forces to disappear into the mountains. "The human has merely delayed defeat," Admiral Nix commented. "Korzak still has overwhelming numerical superiority." "Perhaps," Commander Zorlik replied, "but observe how the Ursan advance has slowed. The human has changed the psychological dynamic of the battle." Inside the simulation, General Korzak finally located the main human force in a small valley between two mountain peaks. The Ursan army surrounded the valley, cutting off all escape routes. Victory seemed certain, but as the Ursan forces advanced from all sides, they found the valley empty. The human army had vanished again. "Impossible!" General Korzak roared, his 6 arms gesturing in frustration. Suddenly, the mountain peaks above erupted with weapons fire. The human forces had split into small teams and climbed to high positions while leaving electronic decoys in the valley. The Ursan army, packed tightly together for the final assault, made a perfect target. In the observation room, the alien representatives watched in stunned silence as General Korzak's forces suffered devastating losses. The simulation ended with a clear human victory. When Alex emerged from the neural interface, the room was quiet. The representatives stared at him with new expressions. Some looked suspicious, others intrigued. General Korzak stomped forward. His furry face twisted with anger. "You fought without honor," the Ursan growled. "Your tactics were deceptive and chaotic." Alex shrugged. "They were effective?" "Indeed they were," Commander Zorlik interrupted, stepping between them. "Lieutenant Rivera employed psychological warfare to overcome a superior force. The purpose of these simulations is to learn from different approaches." General Korzak grunted and moved away. Several other representatives followed. Speaking quietly among themselves, Kira approached Alex, her blue lips curved in a smile. "That was remarkable. You deliberately appeared incompetent to manipulate General Korzak's perception." "Reverse psychology?" Alex explained. "Sometimes the best way to win is to make your opponent think you're losing. A concept many here find difficult to understand," Commander Zorlik said, joining them. "Most Confederation species abandoned such tactics centuries ago, considering them primitive compared to mathematical precision." "Sometimes primitive is exactly what you need," Alex replied. "When everyone expects complex calculations, simple deception becomes powerful." Commander Zorlak's copper scales shifted in what might have been amusement. "Perhaps. But understand, Lieutenant, you have gained attention now. Your next opponents will not underestimate you so easily," Alex smiled. "That's part of the plan, too." As they left the simulation chamber, Alex could feel the other representatives watching him. Their dismissive attitude had been replaced by cautious interest. Phase 1 of his strategy had worked perfectly. They had seen what he wanted them to see, a human using unpredictable, emotional tactics to achieve victory. Now for Phase 2, making them overthink his every move. Word of Alex's unusual tactics spread quickly through the tactical nexus. As he entered the dining area the next morning, conversations stopped and alien representatives turned to watch him. Some nodded in reluctant respect. Others studied him with new wariness. "You have disrupted their comfortable assumptions," Kira said as she joined him at a table. Many believed they had categorized human warfare capabilities correctly. Now they must reconsider. Alex nodded, selecting a synthesized breakfast from the food dispenser. That's exactly what I wanted. Uncertainty is a powerful tool. But it can only be used once, a deep voice rumbled. Commander Zorluk approached their table, his copper scales gleaming under the lights. They will be prepared for your psychological tactics in future simulations. Will they? Alex asked with a small smile. Or will they see psychological manipulation where none exists? Either way, they'll be second-guessing themselves. Zorluk's vertical pupils narrowed. Interesting, you are creating doubt as a weapon. The next 3 days saw Alex participating in various simulations. Sometimes he commanded his own forces. Other times he served as an advisor to alien commanders. His reputation grew with each exercise, though his success rate was mixed. He won some battles, lost others, but always employed unexpected approaches that forced his opponents to adapt. On the 4th day, the simulation scenario changed dramatically. Alex found himself commanding a defensive position against a coalition of forces led by the Draken, the reptilian species known for overwhelming force. The simulation placed his smaller human force in an urban environment, a ruined city with crumbling buildings and narrow streets in the neural interface. Alex surveyed his virtual troops. He had approximately 1/3 the numbers of the Draken coalition. His technology was inferior, and his supply lines were vulnerable. By conventional metrics, his position was hopeless. The Draken commander, General Cyrix, was a veteran of hundreds of simulations. His forces surrounded the city in a textbook encirclement pattern, cutting off all escape routes before beginning a methodical advance toward the center. In the observation room, the alien representatives watched with interest. After Alex's previous performance, many expected another unconventional strategy. The human will attempt another deception, Admiral Nix predicted. Perhaps false retreats or feigned weakness again. No, General Korzak rumbled. He knows we expect that now. He will do something completely different. Inside the simulation, Alex studied the Draken advance. General Cyrix was being extremely cautious, scanning for traps and proceeding slowly. The Draken clearly expected human trickery. Alex smiled. Phase 2 of his strategy was working perfectly. The aliens were overthinking his every move, looking for complex psychological warfare where none existed. Time to exploit their new expectations, he ordered his forces to take conventional defensive positions. No tricks, no deceptions, just standard urban warfare tactics. Buildings were fortified, snipers positioned, and barricades established along main avenues. The Draken advance slowed even further as they encountered this straightforward defense. General Cyrix, expecting elaborate traps, ordered multiple scans of each building before proceeding. His forces tested every barricade for hidden explosives, checked every window for holographic decoys, and analyzed every human movement for signs of deception. In the observation room, confusion spread among the watching representatives. Where's the human strategy? A Moravian chittered nervously. This is basic defensive positioning. That is the strategy, Commander Zorluk replied. The human is using our expectations against us. Inside the simulation, the Drakon forces had barely advanced 10 blocks into the city. Their caution was consuming valuable time and resources. General Cyrix, convinced that the human was planning something devious, held back his main force while sending small units to probe the defenses. Alex observed this hesitation and saw his opportunity. While the Draken focused on discovering non-existent traps, he ordered quick strikes against their exposed supply lines. Small, mobile units darted out from side streets, attacked the vulnerable supply convoys, and disappeared before the Draken could respond. Remarkable, Kira commented in the observation room. The human is using standard tactics, yet the Draken are paralyzed by indecision. They see ghosts where none exist, Commander Zorluk agreed. The reputation of human unpredictability has become a weapon in itself. As the simulation progressed, General Cyrix grew increasingly frustrated. His cautious approach had yielded little progress, while his supply lines suffered continuous harassment. Finally, he ordered a full-scale assault, abandoning caution for brute force. This was exactly what Alex had been waiting for. As the Draken forces charged forward, They triggered the only traps Alex had actually set: conventional explosives placed at key intersections. The resulting chaos disrupted their formations and separated their units. Alex then launched a coordinated counterattack. His forces, which had been conserving energy and ammunition during the slow Draken advance, struck with precision and coordination. They targeted isolated enemy units, focusing on communication nodes and command vehicles. The Draken coalition, expecting another retreat or deception, was completely unprepared for this direct assault. Their forces broke apart, communication failed, and what should have been an overwhelming victory turned into a stunning defeat. When the simulation ended, the observation room was silent. The representatives stared at the final battle statistics in disbelief. Alex had achieved victory with minimal losses against a force 3 times his size. General Cyrix emerged from his neural interface, scales flushed with anger. You set no traps. You used no deceptions. You fought conventionally. That was the trap, Alex replied calmly. You were so busy looking for complex strategies that you missed the simple one. Admiral Nix approached, silver skin gleaming. A double deception. First, you establish a reputation for trickery, then you exploit our expectation of trickery by doing the obvious. Alex nodded. Sometimes the most unexpected move is the expected one. The alien representatives gathered around, their earlier dismissiveness completely gone. Many now regarded Alex with something approaching respect, or at least cautious acknowledgement. Commander Zorlik stepped forward. Lieutenant Rivera has demonstrated an important principle. Our assumptions about an opponent's behavior can become a vulnerability. We have grown too predictable in our approaches. As Alex left the simulation chamber, Kira fell into step beside him. You have changed the games, she said. For the first time in decades, representatives are questioning their standard tactics. Alex smiled. That was the real goal all along. Not winning individual battles, but changing how they think about warfare itself. And about humans, Kira added. No one dismisses your species as primitive now. The final round of simulations would begin tomorrow. Alex knew the alien representatives would be analyzing his every move, trying to predict his next strategy, but that was fine. The more they tried to get inside his head, the more they would tie themselves in knots. Human psychology had become his greatest weapon. The final day of the simulations arrived. The tactical nexus hummed with activity as representatives prepared for the culminating exercise. This last challenge would determine the overall rankings and set the tone for diplomatic relations until the next games. Alex entered the preparation room to find all eyes turning toward him. His earlier victories had elevated humanity's status among the Confederation species. Even Admiral Nix nodded respectfully as Alex passed. Lieutenant Rivera, Commander Zorlik called. A moment of your time? Alex followed the copper-scaled Vendari to a quiet corner of the room. The final simulation will be different, Zorlik explained. All representatives will compete individually, each commanding identical forces on a neutral battlefield. No advantages in numbers or technology. Only strategy will determine the victor, Alex nodded. A level playing field. Indeed. After your unconventional approaches in previous rounds, many representatives have been studying human military history. They believe they have decoded your patterns. Alex smiled slightly. Good. Zorlak's vertical pupils narrowed. You wanted this. You have been manipulating perceptions throughout the games. I've been playing the long game, Alex admitted. Each battle was just one move in a larger strategy. Most interesting, Zorlik said. In 300 years of simulations, few have approached the games as a unified campaign rather than individual contests. The representatives moved to the neural interface pods. The final simulation would place them all in a complex environment with varied terrain: forests, mountains, deserts, and oceans on a single artificial planet. Each commander would start with identical resources in different locations. As Alex connected to the neural interface, he felt the familiar tingling sensation. Then he was standing on a grassy plain overlooking his base of operations. In the distance, he could see mountains to the north, dense forest to the east, desert to the west, and ocean to the south. A holographic map appeared showing 17 starting positions scattered across the planet. Each representative had been placed equidistant from the others. Victory would require defeating all opponents, or capturing a central command post that would only activate after 12 hours of simulation time. Alex studied the map carefully. Most of the alien representatives would approach this final challenge with their signature strategies. The Draken would gather resources for overwhelming force. The Moravians would develop technological advantages. The Quillari would establish perfect defensive formations. After his previous victories, they would also be expecting him to employ either psychological manipulation or to subvert their expectations again. They had studied human tactics and prepared countermeasures for whatever they thought he might do. Alex smiled. Time for the final phase of his strategy. Instead of immediately moving his forces, he opened communication channels to the other representatives. In a real war, this would be diplomacy. In the simulation, it was an unexpected move that confused the other commanders. "This is Lieutenant Rivera of Earth," he transmitted. "I propose alliances." In the observation room, Commander Zorlak and Kira watched with interest. "The human begins with diplomacy," Kira noted. "Another unexpected approach." "Not entirely unexpected," Zorlak replied. "The others will suspect treachery." Indeed, most representatives ignored Alex's communication or sent dismissive responses. But three, the Alturian, the Nebulan, and surprisingly, the Ursan, expressed cautious interest. Alex proposed a simple arrangement. They would divide the planet into sectors, avoid conflict with each other, and focus on defeating the remaining competitors. Once only allies remained, they would meet at the central command post for a final, honorable contest. General Korzak of the Ursans was suspicious. "Why should we trust you, human? Your previous strategies have been built on deception." "Because working together benefits us all," Alex replied. "Each of our species has different strengths. Together, we can overcome the others more efficiently than alone." The logic was sound, and after some negotiation, the alliance was formed. The four allies began coordinating their movements, sharing intelligence, and supporting each other against the other competitors. In the observation room, Admiral Nix watched with growing concern. "The human has created a coalition. This changes the balance of power." "An obvious strategy," a Draken observer hissed. "They will turn on each other eventually." But as the simulation progressed, the alliance held firm. The combined forces of human, Ursan, Alturian, and Nebulan systematically eliminated the other competitors. Alex contributed strategies that complemented each ally's natural strengths: Ursan brute force, Alturian precision, Nebulan adaptability. After 10 hours of simulation time, only the four allies remained. The central command post would activate in 2 hours, determining the final victor. "Now we will see betrayal," Admiral Nix predicted. "The alliance must fracture." But instead of turning on his allies, Alex proposed something unprecedented in the history of the simulations. "We should share victory," he transmitted. "All four of us can approach the command post together and establish joint control." "Impossible," General Korzak rumbled. "The simulation requires a single victor, does it?" Alex asked. "The parameters state that victory goes to whoever controls the command post. It doesn't specify that it must be only one species." The allies debated this interpretation as they gathered near the still inactive central command post. In 3 centuries of simulations, no one had ever attempted a shared victory. The concept was alien to most Confederation species, who viewed competition as absolute. Commander Zorlak watched with fascination. The human continues to introduce new concepts. Cooperation as a winning strategy rather than merely a temporary alliance. When the command post activated, all four allies approached together. The simulation parameters flickered as the system processed this unexpected outcome. Finally, a message appeared. "Joint victory acknowledged." For the first time in the history of the Confederation War Games, multiple species shared the top position. As the representatives emerged from their neural interfaces, a buzz of conversation filled the room. Some were outraged at the subversion of tradition. Others were intrigued by the novel approach. Commander Zorlek approached Alex as he disconnected from his pod. "Congratulations, Lieutenant. You have done more than win a simulation. You have changed how the Confederation thinks about competition itself," Alex nodded. "That was the real goal. Earth is new to the Confederation. We can't match your technology or experience yet, but we can offer new perspectives. Perspectives that may prove valuable in real conflicts," Zorlek agreed. "The Confederation Council will be most interested in your approach." Later, at the closing ceremony, Alex stood alongside his former allies as they received recognition for their unprecedented shared victory. Admiral Nix approached, his earlier dismissiveness replaced by thoughtful consideration. "Your strategy was enlightening human," the Solarian admitted. "You use psychology not just as a weapon against enemies, but as a tool to build alliances." "Humans have been doing that throughout our history," Alex replied. "Sometimes the greatest victories come not from defeating others, but from turning potential enemies into friends." As the representatives prepared to return to their homeworlds, Kira sought out Alex one last time. "You will return for next year's games?" she asked. Alex smiled. "Not me. Earth will send someone new, someone with different skills and perspectives." "A wise choice," Kira said. "Unpredictability extends beyond tactics to personnel as well." Alex boarded his transport ship the next day. As the tactical nexus receded in the viewport, he reflected on what had been accomplished. Earth had entered the games as a dismissed newcomer. It left as a respected member of the Confederation, known for innovative thinking and unexpected approaches, and most importantly, 17 advanced species were now trying to understand human psychology, a puzzle that humans themselves had never fully solved. They would be studying and second-guessing for years to come. Sometimes the best way to win wasn't through force or technology, but by changing how your opponents thought about the game itself.